It's April 23rd.
Is that it?
Yes. I don't know. I've got other things to say.
Games, video 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 games,
It's April 23rd, 2009, and I'm in rhythm heaven.
This is Idle Thumbs 24, and I'm Chris Rima.
I'm Nick Brecken.
Okay, we're using that, and I'm Jake Rodkin.
So, welcome back to us being here, not for GDC.
Yeah, this is a non-grenade, non-conf.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, less than a blast.
Less than a
than a
blast,
blast? What does
more
that
than a
mean?
boost. I don't know. We'll just throw a bunch of Idle Thumbs words, because those exist. Apparently, Idle Thumbs words is a thing.
I'll look in my Idle
This is
Thumbs dictionary.
Terrible.
Yeah. All right, anyway.
Anyway, 24?
24.
24 thumbs
Yeah.
up.
It's like 12 dudes all giving 2 thumbs up.
How about that rating system, Clint Hawking?
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you
Clint
guys see
Hawking reference.
they're making a movie out of Shadow of the Colossus?
I saw that.
I didn't see that.
You didn't see that? They're doing it.
I
They're
can't
going
wait.
for it. Yeah, I
They
know.
are.
I think maybe can I wait? Can't I wait?
I think you probably
I think everybody can
I think
wait.
I can probably wait.
Yeah.
There was actually a Variety reported on it, and they actually said a sort of an amazing thing, which is, God, what was it?
You will be blown away.
Well, weird that they'd say that.
Man.
They said, I understand this is Variety's, I think, Ben Fritz reporting here, based on his sources. I think Hollywood Reporter broke the story, and then Variety also confirmed it. I understand the folks working on the project are planning to have some of the characters who appear only momentarily in the game, such as those who try to track down and stop Wander, play bigger roles in the film. And despite the game's somewhat artsy cred, they're hoping Shadow will be a Lord of the Rings-style fantasy tentpole.
Jesus.
Yes.
That sounds like the worst fucking thing ever. That sounds so shitty.
Maybe some movie executives saw that Adam Sandler movie that had the Shadow of the Colossus in it. It's like, what is that?
Right.
Do we own that? We should own that.
Yeah. Well, it's Sony, so I mean,
Oh, right.
Yeah.
they do, in fact, already. Sweet, we already got it? Free. That was probably,
my God.
I don't know, part of the was. I mean, it seems so strange.
It's going to be
Like,
like,
of all the
Chronicles of
things-
Narnia.
Yeah, right. Like, there maybe, I mean, like, there will be a whole series.
Yeah.
Maybe it's episodic. Maybe it's one Colossus per movie. There's 16
One
films.
down, and then the camera sort of flies
To be
through the world
continued,
in this
yeah.
amazing crane shot, sort of passing through the legs and like under the wings of all the other ones, and then it just ends on a sunset. Come back. Summer 2011, 12, 13, 14, and 15. 16?
The question mark at the end of that one. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, apparently the guy writing it also wrote Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li, which I'm pretty sure, like, I didn't even notice that movie
That was
came
a
out.
tent pole.
But
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was one of the least well-reviewed movies I've ever.
Looked
You
at
just
it.
weren't
where
looking
you
at the
are.
right
I don't even know.
places.
I didn't even read any reviews of it, but it had like a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, I think, at least for a while.
-6.
Yeah. How is that even possible? One critic invented a new scale just for that film. We gave this one an inverse star. I didn't know how else to represent it.
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway, I bet it's going to have sweet CG.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
It's actually stop motion.
That would be fucking sweet.
It's
I would
it's
see
like
that
a
movie.
Studios follow up to Coraline. That would be fucking amazing, actually. That would
Yeah.
make me amazingly happy. They should do that instead. Are you listening, Sony?
They're not.
Oh,
Yeah.
they might
Yeah,
be.
the reason I noticed this is because I saw some forum thread where it was like Street
Fighter of the
That
classic
fizzled
riff.
out. Yeah. Like, oh, Shadow Clouds movie. This is hilarious. Look at it. And I seriously thought that it was people were just referring to the Mega 64, like Shadow of the Colossus video that they showed at the GDC, like the Game Developer Stores Awards.
That was a good video.
And I was like, oh, they're probably talking about that. That was funny. That was a funny thing. And then the real thing was possibly more.
Is it because they were saying it's
comical.
hilarious?
Yeah, they're like, what the hell? How could they? And I think they're also referencing the, like, in, response to the writer, being the guy who wrote the shitty fucking
Right.
lame-ass Chun-Li movie, and I don't know, something else. He also wrote 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which is also in
That's a
development and
movie?
not out yet.
Oh.
Well, apparently there's...
Oh yeah, that. Oh,
Yeah, God, what a fucking weird thing. It's funny how even, like, in regard to the sort of, I know this game has kind of an artsy cred, but we're going to try to really make it into a tentpole fantasy.
right.
Like, even the games that, like, are the ones where that actually, for once, do have, you know, like, some
Their
sort
own
of
style
nuance
or,
and subtlety and...
What we really liked was the fact that it's basically just like a series of boss battles where you're
Yeah.
fighting a huge statue and you stab a sword in
It's sort of like Lord of the Rings, but without the orcs. So we're just gonna put the orcs in there. You know?
It's got everything you need.
your
right?
horse
I mean,
is now an orc.
Yeah.
Your orc pal.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's like a buddy movie.
He's like the goofy orc
Yeah.
buddy, right? He kind of
sort of
stumbles on
says,
things.
"Stop
and
clicking me," and stuff.
maybe Eddie Murphy plays him.
Yeah, I bet that's what it is.
It could be
Hey
that.
kid,
That's
why'd you
what
climb up that Colossus?
That's
Wow.
what Eddie Murphy sounds like.
That's what it
That's
sounds
awful.
like at all.
What the,
Yeah.
that's man. They should just cast you as Eddie Murphy, as the horse, as the orc.
I'm available.
Nick as Eddie Murphy, as the horse, as the orc.
The white Eddie Murphy.
The white Eddie Murphy. Good job, Nick.
Yikes!
Nick's a weird guy. That's
You're
all I
also
have to
you're
say
also
about
the
that.
white Joe Pesci though. So
Yeah.
Nick has a lot of white roles.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of
They're
white
all in
alter
like buddy
egos.
cop movies.
including
That's
Shadow
my
of the
that's my niche.
Colossus.
That's my yeah, well,
Classic buddy
that's
cop
that's
film.
gonna be like the fifth
Shadow
sequel,
and
will
the
be the cop movie.
Shadow and
Officer
the Colossus.
Shadow and
Shadow and the
Officer Colossus. Hand in your badges.
Shadow Colossus, my office now.
Colossus, you're a loose cannon.
Getting too old for this shit, Colossus.
I get results.
Sooner or later, someone's gonna take you down. Rated R.
Camera zooms in at that moment.
Right.
Dong dong.
And then a blue sort of weird icon sort of starts glowing on his head and spewing black particle effects. It's terrible.
I can't decide if in my mind Colossus is actually a huge fucking Colossus or if he's just a police officer. If they just turn this into two cops named Shadow and Colossus. And they're just two dudes.
Yeah.
We really tried to recapture the dynamics of the game, but we thought that it would make a lot more sense
had to make our own mark.
reframe them in kind of a way that audiences could relate to. Two wisecracking cops who play by their own rules.
It's like the
What are we talking about?
Yeah, podcast.
So that's probably what that movie's going to be.
Yeah, so
That's what I think.
look for that soon. oh man. So
geez.
yeah, I heard that video games are made and played by people occasionally.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Henry Hatsworth and the Puzzling Adventure on the DS.
I heard that was cool from you on the internet.
Yeah. Good one. It is. The reason I said that on the internet to you or to Twitter is because it's awesome.
I thought it was mostly to me though.
Oh, well, it was
you felt the vibe in the Twitter.
It was like you were looking out of Twitter and just into my eyes.
It's probably true.
Yeah.
No, it's really cool. It's kind of like
It's from the makers of half the Madden lineup and half the like
right.
FIFA,
Yeah, it's by
lineup.
IIIII, which is really interesting. But what happened is Kyle Gray, who is one of the guys behind the experimental gameplay project, is a designer at IIIII. So he's worked on just like a bunch of sports games, but also in his free time does all kinds of indie stuff. And I guess he convinced EA to let him like assemble a little team, I imagine a pretty small team.
A little team.
Oh,
You got your own team.
Oh,
It's so
that's so
precious.
good. Yeah.
Oh, how adorable. Yeah. So he got some guys together down at that studio, and then they made a game. And I mean, they must have gotten a pretty good amount of freedom and support because it's a full-on, like, awesome, crazy hybrid of like a side-scrolling action game, almost like a Mega Man kind of thing, but less extreme than that, at least what I've played of it. And then also with a Tetris Attack-style game on the bottom screen on the DS, and you flip back and forth between them, and they affect
So you
one another.
you kill dudes in the platformer, then they end up showing up as a certain type
Right.
of block in the block game.
Yeah, and if you don't, and it works together in a really symbiotic way. So basically, they're really good organic means to keep you playing both in a really well designed proportion, because once the enemies go down to the block screen, if you don't clear them out of the block screen before they rise to at the bottom of the screen, the bottom puzzle is always rising up like a block puzzle does. And if the enemies down there get to the top of the screen, they'll come back to the top screen
That's awesome.
and fall on you. So, and they're more annoying in that case because they fall down on you instead of just being in the world. And so but you can only stay in the puzzle screen as long as you have puzzle energy, which you can rack up in the top screen by fighting enemies and stuff. So there's a really, really well-tuned, well-designed series of mechanics that keeps you bouncing back and forth between those two. So in order to be more effective in the bottom screen, you have to play the top screen. In order not to have things be a pain in the ass at the top, you need to play the bottom. So it really it works together quite well. It feels to me more organic and well designed than something like Puzzle Quest, which is sort of a similar hybrid. And also, I just like side-scrolling action platformer stuff more than like.
So if you're picking up a DSi kind of this week, you should also buy that game with it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I've heard the game is not selling as well as maybe they projected. So I'm hoping that this doesn't turn off EA from doing crazy shit like that. That
game, I went to the website and they have an amazing soundtrack. Is is the soundtrack fully live like that in the game as well?
It is. I mean, obviously the fidelity is not as high as like downloading a file and playing on your PC.
But that crazy full live brass thing. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's an awesome soundtrack. A big, huge soundtrack, and you can download the whole thing for free on their website. It's actually really nice. Like, it's just a zip file with a bunch of MP3s or whatever in it. There's no stupid bullshit that you've got to go through. Yeah, no, it's I don't know. EA really did the right kind of thing with this game.
It's exactly what you would sort of imagine and hope would happen if EA decided to throw sort of like their level of polish and sort of budget behind a weird indie game. Is that it would
exactly.
It would look really nice and have really weird, cool stuff, and also a crazy like full live soundtrack for a DS game. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I've been playing that. I've heard it gets really fucking hard later on, but I can see how that's
like a real game.
Yeah, it's not for babies. Unlike everything else on the DS. Oh,
that's true.
No, I've finally actually been playing my DS a bunch recently because.
When is 2009 like 2006?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I went through a period like a few years ago where. It was, I think, 2005 and 6. Yeah, basically where I just...
The Meteos years?
Like 9 months where like the only system I played pretty much was my DS.
That's the same with me. It was that there was an amazing lineup for a while.
Yeah, there really was.
Like the DS started off just laming it up, and then all of a sudden, like, it was at
like E305.
E3 2005, we went and just like, holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
That was the year that... like Phantom Hourglass, I think, and New Super Mario Bros. Phantom Hourglass was announced. It was announced at that GDC, and New Super Mario Bros. Was there. That was like when Nintendo was just like punching you in the face with their first party lineup.
Castlevania and like Meteos and just all this shit was shown at the down on the floor. That was
also right around when Phoenix Wright started showing up on the DS in North America, I think.
Yeah, I think so. There was like a year-long period where just a bajillion amazing things come out on that system.
Those days are potentially back slightly right now for some reason.
Yeah. So, I mean, in addition to Hatsworth, I've been playing a fucking ton of Rhythm Heaven. That game is so good. Oh, do you like it or do you not like it?
I can't get past the first level.
What a fucking idiot.
Yeah, I know. I felt really dumb.
Yeah, that's funny. I got a superb on every single...
Yeah, I fucking hate you.
And a perfect on a lot of them too, but it's hard to get perfects because they only let you get the like.
I'm good at rhythm games too. I can't figure it out.
Really? Apparently not.
The peg is like hitting the thing and flying everywhere. I can't get it through that hole.
The elephant, that music, I just couldn't stop.
That was a good box quote. The peg is just flying everywhere, and I just couldn't get in that hole. And I'm good at rhythm games.
IGN.com.
IGN.com. What? Yeah, so Rhythm Heaven, and also Chinatown Wars, which none of us have played.
Yeah, we haven't played
we're all feeling stupid.
I bought it the same day I bought Hatsworth, but I just haven't. Hatsworth has been really fun, and I also until I picked up those games, all I was playing was Rhythm Heaven on the DS, so I just haven't had time for a third one. But it's been just fucking crazy DS Town again, so that's cool.
Yeah, reminding you that it's an awesome thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know, for a while there just has not been a lot in that system I've actually been interested in. Like, there's been a lot of sequels to stuff that I played, and I was like, all right, cool. I enjoyed that the first one or two times, but
a lot of ports, and
I don't need to keep doing it. But yep, it's exciting. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Jake and I played some Bully. Was that last weekend or something? Or 2 weeks?
Yeah, it was over the weekend. We were playing some Bully at the recommendation of Hot Scoops.
Yeah.
He kept talking
Yeah,
it
he was
up.
talking it up all the time.
I mean, this is an amazingly old game to talk about, but whatever.
Yeah, that's all right.
It was. I enjoyed it.
It's a game that I think
lot.
probably a lot of people passed by.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
I mean,
yeah.
and I guess it's on that note, it's worth saying that you should just go grab the 360 version. There is a 360 version of
Yeah,
Bully.
it's on a lot of systems now, actually. Like, we played the PS2 one because I had it from years ago, and I just hadn't played it yet. But there's also a 360 one, a PC one, a Wii one. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you can get it on almost anything.
I guess everyone probably knows a decent amount about Bully. It's totally GTA style, but it takes place just inside the sort of campus of a East Coast boarding school
And it
a
looks
small
like also,
surrounding town.
Yeah, right.
But because the scope of it or the scale of it is so much smaller, there's a lot more of it that's about how you relate to other characters, and it has a lot of the sort of interactions that I always sort of want a GTA game to have, or sort of would hope would end up getting into that game, but never did. Like you can actually like if you commit a small crime on campus, like if you punch a kid or like you run past someone and knock their notebook out of their hand, and one of the school prefects sees you, there's actually like a button combo. Or you like hold down L1 and press one of the contextual things, and you can apologize, and you can actually
right. Or you can insult them,
and you build up those skills both by going to English class hilariously and just sort of through other tasks. But
you can hide in trash cans.
Yeah, you can. It's got all. It's just it's like GTA, but just it's gone one.
It's much more focused.
Like it's one step more micro.
Right. Exactly.
It's really
That's
cool.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you couldn't. We were talking about this. You couldn't do any of that stuff in GTA because you can't apologize to a cop for like multiple vehicular
Shooting,
homicide.
like, 20
you just
dudes.
can't,
Yeah.
like you can't commit
Sorry.
crimes minor enough in a GTA game that you apologize for them. But in Bully, it is all like I mean, you can beat guys up until they're basically unconscious. But most of the time, since it's a school, you just get in trouble for sort of being a rowdy kid, like for running around and like skipping class, being up after dark when the guys are walking around with flashlights,
not adhering to the dress code.
Yeah,
it's pretty awesome.
It's really fun, actually.
But it's not. I mean, that maybe makes it sound overbearing to those who haven't played it, but it's not actually.
No,
like it's done in a way that is just on the correct side of being irritating.
Yeah,
it's really good, and because it's so focused in on those interactions, you get just really accustomed to them. Like that's just what the game's about. Like you sort of. You know, when it's time to go to class, like most of the time you'll go to class, or you'll just decide, I'm going to skip class today, I'm going to do this mission instead, or whatever. I mean, you kind of
Chris and I, who were apparently like decently good students, possibly kept trying to do a mission, and then like the clock, because the real time world you are ruled by a clock because you're a kid, so like the thing would get close to 10:30 or whatever. It's like, oh shit, first period,
and then the bell would ring, and
then we're like, do I ditch this mission where I'm running around with this kid like stealing stuff from auto shop, or do I go to math class? It's like, what? Yeah.
We usually went to class.
Yeah, it's dumb.
It's pretty.
But
pretty
class
stupid.
also consists of like 3-minute long mini games. They're all actually decently fun.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll probably get tiring after a while.
After a long time, but yeah, they're okay.
Oh, one other thing about Bully that I enjoyed. We didn't get very far. We got like what 6%,
7, I think
7% on completion,
7 to 9%.
But it gives the impression, at least early on, that while you're in a school full of rough kids, and you do sort of end up beating people up as parts of missions, your character isn't on the path to become the ultimate bully. It seems, at least so far, like the game is going to present you the opportunity to slightly shape your personality. I can't tell if that's going to end up bottlenecking in like all Rockstar games do, or suddenly at some point we're just going to have to fucking kill a guy and then like go down the dark path. But at least so far, it's interesting that you can sort of there's different cliques on campus, and as you
curry
get
favor with them,
you can get affinity to different groups, and it feels like we got nerd affinity for doing something, and then we got to escort that fat kid to his locker. And I don't know if that mission would have unlocked.
I don't really know. We haven't
gotten far enough in, but
there are definitely ways to.
Yeah, it was interesting, and I liked it. So turn back the clock and play Bully.
Yeah, I also to say it was interesting to see because obviously in between. I mean, after this game, I guess the Hausers wrote GTA 4.
Right.
But then after that, obviously, Lost and Damned. And it was funny because the sort of character that you most frequently interact with in Bully, who's this sort of obnoxious kind of know-it-all.
Yeah, he's sort of the first guy who befriends you in your dorm.
Right, sort of pseudo-bully kid.
Mm-hmm.
Actually really, really reminds me of the leader of your motorcycle club in The Lost and Damned, and in a pretty good way. Like, they're both characters that are sort of unlikable, but they're so well written.
You hate
Yeah.
them for who they actually are as a character instead of for the fact that their voice actor is annoying or
Right.
the dialogue is so horribly written that you want to punch them. It's like it's like a character that you would hate in an actual thing that had good writing.
Exactly. And it's because most video games, they've got villains or they've got obnoxious characters that clearly the people who wrote the game want you to dislike those characters, but it's usually in such a ham-fisted
You usually
way.
just dislike them because they're stupid.
Right, because
You can't. It's like shut up.
Or you can tell you're supposed to dislike them because they're the bad guy, but you don't really give a shit. Like
Yeah.
the guys,
like you thought you had a chance.
right? Exactly. Like, oh yeah,
Good, nice
one. But yeah, these characters in Bully and GTA and Lost and Damned specifically, more so than GTA 4 or the main one, are really they're both ostensibly on your side. Like they're both like your allies, so to speak.
Right, but they
do
douchey.
They're so douchey, and they do a really good job of balancing the believability of that douchiness. Like that sounds stupid, but like those characters really remind me of actual people I've met in real life who are actually like that. It's really sort of impressive. I don't think that very often when I run into a video game.
Also,
character.
it's the sort of person that, like, at least in my experience living in the dorms, you sort of end up accidentally hanging out with because you're stuck on the same floor your freshman year in the dorms.
Right,
it's like, I wouldn't
Somebody you
socialize
sort of
with
put
you
up with.
if like my social horizons were like 1% more broad than they are, but apparently I know you.
Yeah, actually, my roommate in freshman year was like that. In my
Avid
freshman
listener
year
of the
college.
Alpha podcast.
What?
Your roommate's an avid listener of this podcast.
Oh God. Yes. Anyway. Yeah, so
he
Bully's-
kept sending you on fetch quests and escort missions.
it was weird. I tried to go to class when I could, but God, I was
But then he said, let's climb through this old school bus and find that hobo.
Yeah, right.
Weird.
Yeah, there's occasionally because Bully is funny because so much of the tone is so unlike that of most video games, and even the mechanics. But then suddenly
you found the hidden rubber band, one of 75 rubber bands up on the roof. You found the hobo, the radio transistor for the hobo up on the roof, and then it was
he'll
like
teach you a new combat move.
One of 7 radio transistors found. Bring it back to the hobo, and he'll teach you a new fighting move.
The hobo teaches you fighting moves?
Yeah, he teaches you
sometimes it turns into an extreme video game, a really typical video game, which is.
But it was really cool when there was that girl who was sort of like back behind the campus, and she wants you to walk her back to the dorm. And then it suddenly just goes like mini Shadow of the Colossus because when you
mini Ico.
Oh, mini Ico. Jeez. Oh my God. Because she turns into a horse, which is an orc. It goes mini Ico, and as long as you walk slow and close to her, you hold hands, and it's so hilarious.
It's great. It's
so
such
funny.
that great awkward man, it's really well captured. It was really
should
good.
we really be holding
Right,
hands?
exactly. Yeah.
And then you get back to the dorm, and she just goes, thanks, and then runs upstairs and is gone. It was good and weird.
It's pretty hilarious. So they do a lot of in that game of sort of simulating those little weird things, like all the little dynamics of a school.
So anyway, we enjoyed the first 7% of Bully. For those of you who bitch on forums, that was not a review of Bully.
Yeah, we don't review
Fuck
games,
you.
we just talk about them. Jesus, Jake.
Is this a response to somebody or what?
Probably.
All right.
Okay.
Anyway, Jake's in a...
Yeah.
I'm surly
Jake's
now.
feeling frisky.
Jake's currying favor with the jocks.
What?
I don't know.
Oh yeah. Also, geez, let's just talk about that for one more second about Bully. You can put on. I guess we got Nerd Affinity, and or we stole it from one of their lockers.
We stole from a nerd locker.
Yeah, we stole an astronomy club jacket from a nerd locker, and we were wearing that, and everyone was laughing at us. Also,
it's really funny.
At one point, we found a varsity jacket and a wrestling helmet, and so we dressed in jeans, the varsity jacket, like a gray like P.E.E shirt, and the wrestling helmet, and. This is maybe harsh.
This is really horrible to say, but...
we kind of looked like maybe a special kid who was given a varsity jacket.
No.
But we sort of made that joke to ourselves, and then when we walked into like the main hallways of campus, everyone started making fun of us. They're like, "Nice hat, loser!" I'm like, "Oh shit, this is terrible." There were things that
I felt really
said.
bad about that.
Yeah, I felt bad for
us
ourselves
thinking that, and then for the game,
and then the game affirming it,
magnifying it.
Yeah, it was terrible. So we took off the helmet again.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so that game's pretty good.
That was weird. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, you can only ever wear clothes like a complete douche. Like, you can't just, like, wear a shirt.
He forces his undershirt to be untucked, or, like, if you're wearing a button-up shirt, half of it's coming out, like he took a piss and forgot to tuck in his shirt afterwards. He, like, wears the hat at, like, a 15-degree angle sideways on his head.
Right, always, no matter
what.
Sort
of like Jughead or something. Like, I'm an old man, apparently. Like, from the Archie comics.
It is sort of that Rockstar thing where it's like, you can make whatever choice you want as long as you're like an outcast from society or whatever. It's like,
yeah.
But whatever. It's a cool game and they do a lot of really cool things in it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll play more of it.
Thanks, Scoops, for that scoop.
Yeah, that hot scoop. You guys want to take a break?
Yeah, break. We're breaking it.
All right.
Let's break.
Breaking 2.
Video game.
Shadow and Colossus with Genesis lock-on technology.
What?
You know, snap it into Ico, and then you can play the Colossus in Ico. It's like Sonic and Knuckles. Never mind.
Oh, you're talking about the plug into a plug.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Genesis where you could make like 14 cartridges all
the tower of...
Is that really what happens?
Well, you can do that with all the fucking shit.
You haven't seen that
like,
picture of the
dude
who
did that? If you could put in like a Game Genie into a fucking Sonic and Knuckles into
like the Game Shark into the Pro Action Replay into another Sonic and Knuckles.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, there's a stupid picture on the internet of someone who just has like, you know, fucking 11.
Does it boot successfully? That would be fucking awesome.
I think someone once tested how many
shorts out
crazy cartridges you can
just explodes.
You can actually do simultaneously in boot. I don't know, you know.
At this point, they would never like let anyone make any of that stuff because certification testers would be like, look, attention, when you plug 18 Pro Action Replays together and then Sonic and Knuckles, you can enter 8,000 cheat codes.
Yeah, there's a new Blu-ray technology where you can stick a Blu-ray on top of another Blu-ray. And it's twice as many.
Oh, so that's like
rays.
The new Wii.
Oh, shit.
Get it? Because a Wii is like 2 GameCubes?
I get it, Jake. Good one.
It might be 1 GameCube.
Oh, shit. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. I remember what I wanted to say earlier about farts.
Whoa! I thought you were about to say Far Cry.
Yeah.
I what I was going to say about farts.
Sorry. Clint Hawking's farts. No,
farts cry.
There's now like an actual
Fart Scry 2.
Farts cry.
Yeah. Or farts cry.
Cry of fart too. Yeah.
Fart apostrophe
farts
S
cry instincts.
Farts cry instincts is amazing.
Man, we're hilarious. Farts cry predator.
Farts cry instincts is hilarious to me.
That's like, is Mad Magazine still around? Because that's the kind of stupid joke you see in there on their video game.
Yeah.
Real video game ads. Farts cry instincts. Like, you'd probably see that. Anyway. The thing I did want to say is that there's...
Nick actually has his head in his hands. He's so bummed that he's on this podcast.
There's not.
We're losing Twitter subscribers like mad.
I had some application on my iPhone, and I just happened to be in the options menu that you get to.
Fart
from,
application?
No, but here I'm getting to it.
It was Pants Cast.
In the in like the main settings from the iPhone, you know, you can access some options for applications, and there's one, and I went in there, and it was like turn on P technology, like P.E.E, and I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? And so there's a URL. It's like, if you need to know what this means, go here. So I went to the URL, and it stands for like product enhancement. Fucking.
It stands for penile enhancement.
Some like
idle thumbs.
It's like product enjoyment enhancement or something stupid like that. Apparently, this is a thing that. There's like an API that developers, if you have an iPhone thing, you can include with your iPhone program, and it will automatically include a flashlight and a fart app.
Yeah.
With your iPhone.
There's a bunch of those of that. I think some of them label it as like to enable like profitability mode or whatever.
Oh, right. I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the profit enhancement engine or something like that. It just adds a flashlight and fart sounds to your program, so that it will suddenly make millions in the app store.
Those are apparently the two guaranteed ways to make money on the iPhone. It's a pretty hilarious
joke that your Twitter client or whatever will include a flashlight.
But it's like a real thing, I think.
Well, I don't think it's real.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think that it's just a collective joke.
Oh, what happens if you turn it on?
I mean, it works.
Oh, well, that's
but I don't think people are actually expecting to make
money.
Oh,
no, I understand that. But I mean, the guy who makes it charges $20 for developers to implement that API. So I mean, it's probably not a joke to him. He probably is fucking. made $20 from one guy. I think there's only one person that's implemented it so
It
far.
might be the same guy who wrote that app.
Yeah, it could be. So anyway,
It could be. The more you know.
yep.
Did
So
you guys see
anyway, I thought that was wacky.
they released the ComScore info for iPhone apps and
The what info?
the ComScore, just the
Com score?
yeah, it's
We're not real
it's
like you.
It's
Get
it's
real.
a key thing.
Com score, get real.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
What is it?
It was just basically, I mean, ComScore does, website stats and
Some sort of
it's
tracking.
tracking.
I knew
there's
that.
the word. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
well,
this was-
like
this
a
was-
metric.
Yeah, it's a metric thing.
It's like Alexa.
Yeah. I think this is a little more accurate than Alexa, but
What's that supposed to mean?
So it's like a web counter. It's like a counter.
yeah. I don't know how it works, Jake.
6,000 people have been to this website since January.
Well, no,
26,
it's somehow they're
2002.
tracking, the application sales and
All right.
and the top. Well, just
Out
I'm
with
getting
it.
there.
So what fucking happened already? Christ.
Most of a lot of them are games. The top 25.
Oh, good.
The top
Yeah,
25
is that your story?
I
It's a
saw
good
that as
story.
well.
Yeah, no, the top one was Tap Tap Revenge, and there were a number of others. Most of
Really?
them were decent
Wow.
games.
Yeah.
So
That's one of the guys who had stuff out when it was just jailbroken software.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tap Tap Revenge was also free for a long time, wasn't it?
Yeah, well,
I
it was
think
free
so,
before
yeah.
the App Store came out. Like
Well,
when
it was free. Yeah, but then when it went, we don't need to talk about this. But
yeah,
when the stupid App Store went legit, they couldn't play from your actual library anymore because Apple closed off that part of the real
Oh, so they
API.
just
So
made
they
it
made
free.
it. They made it free till they could license songs, and
Oh.
they did like the Nine Inch Nails one and whatever. But iPhone 3,
Oh, so now it's successful.
yeah, it is.
That's cool.
But
Good for
then
that guy.
iPhone 3.0 is they are reopening that API. So I'm sure Tap Tap
I
Revenge
see.
is gonna go fucking crazy when you can actually play it
Yeah,
with
but
your.
I mean, apparently it already is, right?
yeah, well, it's but like you.
Or is it still free right now?
No, right now you pay money, but it comes with a song pack.
I see. Okay.
Like
Mhm.
you buy one that has like 12 Nine Inch Nails songs, or there's
Got
like
it, right.
some indie rock thing
Sure.
or whatever. But now you can just play with or you will presumably be able to play with your
Yeah.
music library when they can just roll back to the version they made illegally 2 years ago.
right. Yeah, exactly. Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, I don't know why we just had that weird discussion.
Oh,
but,
just games are popular on the iPhone.
so yeah. Nick, I think you had some games you could talk about, right?
yeah. Should we talk about Brütal Legend?
Sure. Yeah, we could talk about that.
Yeah, I mean,
I heard a billion people have been seeing that game in the press.
Yeah, they were
Nick-
all
Nick
in
and
the
I
same
saw it
room,
during GDC. Yeah.
in the same
All at the
closet.
same time.
Oh,
yeah.
was that all the same? Just a big open demo?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because
Well, it
a lot
wasn't
of
open,
the
but yeah, it
write-ups,
was like
or
an
you know what I
event.
mean?
Yeah, yeah,
it was
yeah.
a lot of the write-ups made it sound like it was like, and then they showed me this.
yeah. Well, that's
Game journalists love that. Yeah.
yes, they do. Yeah, yeah. No, we were all in the same room at Double Fine, and they basically,
Very
I guess,
small, hot room.
yeah,
God.
yeah, God, that was fun.
It was so
They
fun.
wanted to make
Yeah.
you feel like you were in a metal album cover.
It was
You
like it
were
was
in
sort of a
hell.
mini game because I was like balancing my Coke in the crook of my arm with like my
Right.
pad of paper.
your Coke
and,
that you were smuggling out of Double Fine.
well, no, they served us all drinks. And they're like, "Here, go stand in a." I know, Jake.
I understand that they served you a drink.
Oh,
I know what
Jake.
you're on to, Jake.
Oh,
What
Jake.
you're about.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. They just they played from the beginning of the game for about like an hour.
Half an hour.
It was pretty
yeah.
long.
3 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah, probably about an hour.
but yeah.
What do you think?
It looked a lot more polished than I expected, to be honest. I mean, it graphically speaking, the presentation was strong. I thought the humor was probably better than I expected. I mean, in
Humor
some
I
cases
thought was
it was up
some
and
parts
down.
were great and some parts were fell flat.
I mean, I don't really know. I guess it's gonna take getting my hands on it to obviously to make a judgment. But I'm not as excited, I think, as most people, and I think you agree. But like we're sort of on the same page here. But I don't know. To me, the core gameplay of this game, which is for people who don't know, it's you play as a Jack Black dude who runs around a hell world, axing dudes. It's a third person action game. And the action to me is just looks like an action game, and then the stuff between looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I think the ideas and the concepts. Tim Schafer is great, and basically all of his little touches were fine and everything. But the stuff in between that just looked to me like okay. I mean, you're driving around in this basically like the bone wagon or whatever, like the big car
the
thing,
hot rod thing.
Yeah. And there's a section where you're just driving around or driving from place, from one part to another, and it's just you're running over guys, and I don't know, it didn't look like that would be fun to play.
Fair enough.
You're just holding A down and hitting dudes. So I mean, I don't. Yeah. What's weird to me? I got this strange like World of Warcraft vibe from a lot of the encounters. Weird. I don't know,
like in what way?
Just in the way that enemies are sort of spaced out. It just seemed like every encounter, it felt like a giant dungeon with like, and every now and then like 4 dudes would sort of come. And,
it did seem sort of instance like.
It had a really weird vibe in terms of like the encounter pacing and stuff like that. But I don't know, what was your take?
My take was that I kind of agree with you in terms of like the action stuff. I kind of wish that the game, because the parts of the game that looked awesome to me was basically when it was like, this is what the actual heavy metal album cover looks like. When it's the big vista, and you see the big crazy fucking Skull Mountain or whatever in the background, and the just big field of grass with crazy shit sticking up out of it, and just all that stuff looks great. But then what? And I like that there's an open world component to it, or at least a hub. I don't think it's an open world so much as it is like sort of a big hub out from which missions spring. But then but when you start sort of dialing in more close up, that stuff just it doesn't look as different from just a lot of other action games, which is
that's one thing that I sort of noticed from the trailers. I mean, I don't know. I've only seen the materials that have been released, and like the screenshots of like the hot rod like jumping out over the cliff like at like twilight with the crazy lightning coming down from the sky and like the crazy purple lights illuminating the statues and stuff. That's like the most badass looking thing in the world. And then there's the trailer of the dude running with chase cam. And the camera just shows nothing but like generic grass texture for 500 feet all around him. And it's like, oh well, I mean that's the sort of game that the gameplay is, but it is a little disappointing to me, I guess, just because like Tim Schafer's older games never had moments like that. Because they were adventure games, admittedly. And
but even Psychonauts
very rarely had moments. I mean,
I guess that's true. Even Psychonauts had a fuller. It was so much smaller in scale. The world was that they were able to pack more stuff in per square foot, and. I mean, this sounds like a stupid video game like thing to say when you look at a preview, but I mean, maybe the world will end up getting an additional polish pass. Maybe it will get more dense when they've got everything finalized. Who knows? Yeah. That's the sort of thing that people always say in a video game preview, and I have no idea if that's true in this case, or if I'm talking entirely out of my ass. But I mean, that is the sort of thing that you sometimes do get the retail game. And it's like, oh, I see that they actually were. This part was not remotely finished, and I am just an idiot. And even though, like, I've looked at a game that is not yet done and worked on one, I don't know shit about that. When it comes to something like Brütal Legend, I have no idea.
Of course, we have no idea. But we don't know how old the build they were showing was, or fucking anything. I don't know. We don't know. It's coming out this fall, though, right? So I mean, probably won't be a radically different experience, but.
Right, but
well, I mean,
there's some
you
stuff,
never fucking
there's
know.
some stuff in that game that looks super hardcore, and then there's some parts that look a lot more like a video game than I was expecting, basically.
Right. Yeah, it's too bad because a lot of these sort of individual elements of that are, I mean, like it doesn't necessarily reflect super well on video game stylistic influences to point this out, but like a lot of just the individual things that are the influences on that, or like sort of the individual stylistic elements of that game have been in a bajillion video games before. You know what I mean? So when you see that shit up close, a lot
Dante's
of it is
Inferno.
It's weird how similar some of the monster design is to Dante's Inferno.
This game looks way fucking better. Actually,
No, I know. This game, obviously, I would rather play this game a million times over than what I know of Dante's Inferno. But there are some monster designs that are hilariously similar.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what. But I'm just saying, that's what I mean. Like, you know, a lot of these sort of stuff. The influences that those heavy metal albums are drawing from are the same influences that a lot of video games have already drawn from. It's only when you kind of scale out to the macro level and see the weird composition
the actual,
of
world.
The guitars and the crazy shapes and the sort of weird metal affectations. But when you're up close and it's literally just like demons in a grassy field and or underground in a fiery rock cavern, that's
triangular man with sort of big neck and huge arms swinging an axe at crazy demons. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen enough of that game. I'm glad that it at least wears that stuff on its sleeve and doesn't pretend that it's
it's true. Obviously,
real.
Right? No. I mean, obviously that's what's nice about it, and that's kind of the point of the game.
Yeah,
is that it very much
No, I thought that vibe was actually carried off pretty well. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, I agree.
there were some, pretty funny jokes in there. That
Yeah.
That
was a joke.
It was a funny joke. I don't know.
Do you think there's a wizard? I mean, do you think
man.
there's some like crazy fucking
Just like full-on wizard. There's
Yeah.
got to be
Man.
like some regal fucking wizard.
Probably.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, you've got to think
He's
that
probably
shit's been
evil.
on
They're
an
like
album covers
druids
at
and
some
things.
point.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's got to be a wizard of their
Lightning
I think
hands
druids were
guy.
mentioned at some point, so
Yeah.
there's got to be a fucking
Yeah.
wizard.
I hope
Yeah.
so.
We should ask someone about this. We should consult EA or Tim Schafer, try to get an answer about this.
Wizard, confirm or deny?
Yeah. This is what Nick. Why didn't we even ask that during the thing?
I don't know. That's
Oh.
that was stupid.
That should have been the first question. That was the first thing I thought of when you guys started talking about it.
Is there a
Is
wizard?
there gonna be a wizard?
Is there gonna be a wizard?
No.
Oh.
Oh, okay, thank you.
All right. See you later.
That's when you sort of like lower
Slink
yourself into
out.
the
Nick
crowd.
Brecken, Wizard
You
News.
just sort of like sit
the
down.
Wizard Watch.
You've got the microphone with the square thing around it that says Wizard News.
Yeah.
It's actually just 4 like wizard hats. Around.
You've been contracted by Wizard Magazine, but it's totally different
Nick
than what you
Brecken
think
Wizard
it
News.
is.
You thought it was comic book news, but we actually just talk about wizards.
Wizards. Nick Brecker. Wizard. We've got a question here from Nick Brecken with Wizard. Is that? Yes, that's me. All right, go ahead. Is there a wizard?
Sounds like you're saying as if I'm on like a conference call.
Yeah, you're
for
calling
like
it-
for
you're
like
calling it,
financial
like,
results.
The EA's investment. Like
we have Michael
investing.
Pachter with Wedbush Morgan, and now we have Nick Brecken with the Wizard.
The Wizard. That's the publication. The Wizard. Yeah, Nick Brecken
Hello?
here, the Wizard.
Our first quarter up and down.
Yeah, I've listened to EA conference call or like specifically the EA shareholder ones. Like the EA analyst calls are usually pretty normal. It's dudes who that's their job. But like the EA shareholder calls, anyone who owns stock in EA
Yeah.
can be on that.
Oh
shit.
yeah, yeah.
So
it's
you
always
just
amusing.
get the goofiest fucking shit.
Yeah.
Like one time, because and a lot of them actually physically go to Redwood Shores or wherever it is to actually sit at their shareholders meeting and like make their presence as a shareholder known and raise their hand and shit. And like some of these goddamn guys
Bring back deluxe paint, please.
exactly, shit like that.
Pinball
Like-
construction set.
Some woman got up and she's like, "Is there going to be a women's soccer game this year?" And it was really awkward because the
No.
well, it was like the executive was trying to be nice about it. He was like,
We value the contribution
EA
women have to offer in
Right,
games.
exactly. It's
Like,
like-
why would you say that?
"We only." Why would you say that? It's bullshit.
I mean, I it's weird that my first suspicion and what you were about to confirm was that he was about to apologize for women.
Right. Well, and then he was basically he sort of like at the end like tacked on. We only due to various reasons and concerns, we can only market games that actually have people who will buy them. Next question. Like it was really like he was trying to phrase it in a
Right.
in a like a tactful way, and
Instead, it was
didn't
just a
really
weird
work.
slow motion slam.
Exactly. So, and then someone else just raised their hand. And he's like, "Are there any gifts?" And the guy's like, "Excuse me." He's like, "When we leave, will there be a gift bag or some kind of treat?"
A treat, a milk bone.
Yeah, a dude seriously asked that to like I don't know the chief financial officer of Electronic Arts or whatever, and the guy was just like,
There will.
Who let the
I'm not
journalist
sure you're
in?
gonna have to ask.
fuck you. Yeah.
Where'd these game journalists come from?
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, they all got a copy of Brain Age.
Yeah, and then this was pretty soon after EA picked up Mythic, which was making Warhammer, the MMO, and
Will we get a Warhammer figurine on the way?
well, one dude raised his hand, and they're like, yeah,
You're like, oh
whatever.
god.
And he and he was like, now that Electronic Arts has acquired the Warcraft license, will you guys be making way more money with World of Warcraft? And they were just like,
Oh, it's Warhammer.
exactly.
Sorry, it's more like World of Warhammer
Craft. Yeah, that was his response. So that's what happens at EA shareholders meetings. Amazingly, I don't know why we're talking about this. I forget.
Yeah.
Oh, because we were going to ask them about the wizard. So
Yeah.
Right.
right, I'll
Right.
go there
So
next
any EA stockholders who are listening,
time. Yeah, please represent the wizard at your next meeting. So yeah, Brütal Legend. I'm definitely curious to play it for sure. I get the sense I like the concept of the world. Like it wouldn't necessarily have been the thing that I immediately would have gravitated to, but I feel like Tim Schafer could make that interesting. More, I mean, like a lot more so than some other.
As somebody who's not like into heavy metal or like really,
or that
into that whole like, yeah.
But it oh, go ahead.
No. No, please. No, I defer to you.
Nick, talk.
I thought that that they pulled it off pretty well. I mean, I was sort of interested in
Yeah.
I mean, the characters were kind of but
the characters are very like stock.
Yes.
Yeah.
My concern, mainly is that from a combat gameplay standpoint, it seemed like a lot of the special moves and things like that were sort of almost like one-off jokes. In a way, like, you can, zap a guy from 50 feet away and he explodes in the air and it's really hilarious. And then, like, you do that again and then you do it again.
And then it just
you
turns
do it again.
into
And
you press A and the guy explodes.
It's just a thing where you're
it's
just
the same with your,
like,
lightning attack that you fucking pull off a sweet riff with your guitar.
I guess,
and then,
I think that's what I'm talking about.
Lightning hits a dude and it's like, that's pretty hilarious the first couple times. But then after that, it's literally just you press B to make lightning happen. And it just sort of loses the impact.
Was there any indication there would be a tree for that sort of thing in any capacity? Or is it just
like a skill tree?
Yeah, or is it just the same? Is it just the same animation for the entirety of the game?
I think you learn more moves.
You learn
more
moves, yeah.
But I mean, that stuff just isn't like in an action game where you're literally just doing that stuff multiple times a second. That stuff's going to lose its impact.
Yeah, I feel like if you did sort of the God Hand route, you could end up getting more mileage out of that. Where there's like the store of crazy moves, and there's you can there
is a store in this. I mean there is some kind
that game had a gigantic number of weird moves, and you could build your own combo chains in an editor and assign moves to buttons and stuff. And then you wouldn't always use the crazy novelty move unless you got bored or there was a weird situation where you for some reason needed to get punched in the balls by a guy. Right.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, I don't think Brütal Legend's the kind of game that's going to have anywhere near that deep a combat engine, because I don't think that's its focus as much as God Hand.
I don't feel like they're
like God Hand was
pretty
pretty extreme in that regard.
God Hand was a brawler.
But
Yeah.
But we'll see how it goes. I don't know. It's hard to. As Nick
I'm
said,
just
we
probably an
haven't actually
asshole
played
that
it,
wishes
so
it was an adventure game.
it's
at the end of the day, but yeah.
I mean, I'm curious about it just because I've liked Tim Schafer games since I was like 12.
Yeah, me too.
And this game is like all the weird sort of like B plot or like sort of B or C character stuff in Tim Schafer's games have always been like there's the crazy demons and the hot rods or like Hoagie and Dave the Tentacle or the vehicles and Full Throttle and all this stuff, and it's just like, okay, now he's just making a game about all that stuff.
Right.
And
that's a good point,
that's worth paying attention to me, just because it's like all of the weird sort of like,
it's like the weird secondary world
all the
of
weird
Tim Schafer
is just like, okay, this is where all those characters came from, apparently, from this weird thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'll take that. That's a good place to wrap up on that discussion.
Sure.
So
yeah.
So, what else did we see? Is there anything you can say about Syndicate? Because that popped up again into the news.
I mean, all I can say is that it is coming.
It's coming, and Starbreeze is developing it.
Yeah, which is cool.
No, it is very cool.
It's really cool.
Exciting.
I don't think it's going to make it out this year. I mean, for sure, it's not going to make it out this year.
They probably would have mentioned it by now. Yeah. Like officially.
Yeah. But yeah,
cool.
Let me think.
What else?
Is there stuff that you'll be able to talk about eventually?
I don't know anything, Jake. I'm not under embargo or anything.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you had a super secret.
No. I just
scoop.
Just that it's being made. I think.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
That's no.
Yep.
Yeah.
What else can we talk about? Dragon Age.
We can talk about Dragon Age. Yeah. Jesus.
Okay. Oh, you say Jesus, and I've been talking to you, Chris, about it, and you seemed to your interest level was raised slightly
after the most recent,
Oh, this will be interesting then.
Yeah, because it's good. I mean, it's good.
You, Nick, hate it apparently.
Please
it's good.
Continue.
It's good that we have opposite directions.
No, this is good.
I'm not
dragon versus dragon, dragon versus age.
I still, unfortunately, really, really, it would be hard for me to be less interested in the actual world and fiction and characters, which seem. It's just so much the style of fantasy stuff that I just don't care about at all. But it was really...
You could have enjoyed this universe on, your Amiga.
Right. Yeah, theoretically, yeah.
Honestly,
I probably would have played this game.
If you just didn't have voice acting in this game, if it was just text, it would be a lot easier to swallow.
Yeah. Well, it was funny. I kind of wish that they... God, I can't believe I'm going to bring this up again. But when I was watching the commentary to Amadeus, they had this is like my Far Cry 2 of movies.
Clint Hawking's Amadeus.
Yeah, there's probably more agreement on Amadeus, but there was an interesting point that the screenwriter Peter Schaefer and the director Miles Forman brought up, which was that even though Amadeus is a period piece and it was in the 1700s and there was definitely a current of sort of regal speech and more elaborate phrasing used, they made a point that they would only really ramp that up with characters that were explicitly noble or cultured or high. I mean, the more you get down to Mozart, who's basically like a hilarious, uncouth asshole, the more he just sounds like any fucking douche who you'd hear like on the street today. Yeah. And Salieri's kind of in the middle. The Emperor, I mean, and the point of that character is that he also, too, is closer to Mozart's level. Right. All of his advisors are up more on the high level. Yeah. And there's everything along the spectrum. And it really gives you a sense of, even though that may not be the most historically accurate, it probably is more historically accurate than just putting everyone into Shakespeare.
Right, but then it's true, because there would be different levels of that speech within the... Right.
Dragon Age is the junior high Romeo and Juliet, or like the fucking Renaissance fair, basically.
Right, where everybody always seems to talk in that mode. And that is so grating to me. I just can't... Yep. I can't take it. It's really, 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 really bad in that particular respect.
God, they're so...
Is there a tutorial where they explain how to use your controller, but what is this strange device?
Yeah. Oh man, I wanted to mention, actually, that's maybe the one thing I really don't like about Henry Hatsworth. Maybe the single thing I don't like about it so far. They fill it up with all that. Just this got old fucking 15 years ago. An old man told me
you can press the A button to jump. I don't know what that means. Anyway, see ya.
That's exactly what happens. He even's got in the parentheses, and they even animate him like looking away from the camera and going, whatever that means. Like, God damn, it's not funny anymore. It just makes all that shit take 3 times as long because you've got to click through all of his, like, I read in a book that if you press L, you'll go to the shop and you can upgrade your abilities. Whatever that means. Wink. Like, shut up. Just fucking, I can figure this out for myself. It's all games like that, too. I know. It's really irritating. Yeah. Everything else about that game is pretty much awesome. That bothered me a lot.
That's cool. Anyway, how about this Dragon Age?
I'm sorry.
Dragon Age, Age of Dragons.
Yeah. So all that presentation stuff really is not exciting to me.
So what was exciting to you?
Well, one is that it was just, this isn't so much exciting so much as it was surprising. I was really, really, really surprised by, even now that this game has been announced as a multi-platform game, how much it looks like a PC game. It's weird. Like
I don't know how the hell they're going to, what the console version of this game is going to look like.
I can't even imagine.
I don't know.
It's going to everything about it.
Yeah.
Like, because you can do all the shit where you've got...
You pause things, you arrange tactics, there's like a tactics menu where you're
there's like
setting things,
ability trees and bars and stuff. Like,
yeah, it's like a World of Warcraft bar on the bottom.
Right. Yeah, I mean...
How do you pull that off in a... Blizzard doesn't probably... They're probably still figuring that out.
You gotta plug in the 360 keyboard to your controller.
Oh, God.
Jesus.
I mean, like, there are games that have some of that stuff on consoles, but I've never seen one on consoles that has all of that shit and is actually playable. Yeah. Like, it's just... they're going to have to completely redevelop all... And the funny thing is, I asked them about that. And this game's coming out this year, right? I asked them about that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, our lead designer, he's got some designs on his desk. He's kind of looking at kind of some of the avenues." It's like, Jesus, guys, get on that shit. Like, I mean, I know that's not the most time-consuming part of making a game, but like,
yeah, I don't know.
But that was interesting to me, just to see how much they're just, at least on the PC version.
So that's why you're looking forward to Dragon Age?
No, I'm not really looking forward to it. I'm just saying that was like a surprising.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I will say the thing that actually I did like, and Nick, I think you didn't like this because I read your preview about it, but I did. I liked the companion system, like the approval disapproval thing.
Oh, right.
Like they have a thing going on in this game where instead of a straight morality that's assigned to actions, depending on the sort of background and culture and opinions of your party members, they will react. They have their own like approval and disapproval of everything you do. So it means most actions you do are not going to be desirable or undesirable to all the people in your party. They'll go different ways on it. And I pressed on this because I was pretty interested in it. And it seems like they're really trying to make it so you can't try to game it so you can just do all the things that'll make everyone like you. Like it seems almost impossible.
It would be impossible. Yeah. I think your party's going to naturally sort of
fracture move, depending on
and it'll just sort of, I don't know, the way I wrote about it was that it almost seems like an external games like Knights of the Old Republic where you're good good and evil, you sort of have that slider.
Right.
Your party is almost like a fractured version, like an external version of that where you're it'll just sort of, if you're sort of good, then it'll be maybe like 3 dudes will be good, and maybe like one guy who's just kind of, that's sort of the impression I got.
Right, but to me that's just much more appealing.
Oh yeah,
than
no,
putting
I would
the meter
rather
on you and saying.
Oh
good
sure,
and evil.
no, I definitely I agree with that. I don't think
this guy really cares what his friends think of him. Apparently,
well, it matters for the reason that I just think it's a cool thing to model into a game. Like you've got to make sure the people in your party are actually on board with the way you want to approach a problem, and it's if they actually model that. And in a convincing way, like that's actually, I think, a much better direction than like the way that everyone seems to be going.
There's surely going to be one like posh dude like Falco in Star Fox who will just not like anything and just go all the time. And
yeah,
especially in that game, he'll have some choice lack of words for you. But yeah. Oh man, that reminds me. I'm sorry to keep doing this, but in Henry Hatsworth, they didn't record any voice. They did the little sort of sim style like fake language that just is syllables. And the Henry Hatsworth one, everything he says is just like it's just like it's a posh sort of British man.
It's a baffled guy,
right? It's just it's pretty hilarious. Just hear him run through that spiel. Anyway, Nick, I'm sorry.
Jesus, where was I?
What you did not like?
Oh yeah, well, what I didn't like about that, I do like that. I think some of that was in Baldur's Gate. I think that's not
right. They're trying to. But they've pitched this as the kind of spiritual successor.
What I didn't like about that was it seems like it came at the expense of your own character in the sense that your character isn't voiced because of I guess there are 6 different characters that you can be in this game.
Right.
So they didn't want to do all that voice work, which all right, fine, but. Playing the game, doing the dialogue options, you get 4 long sentences. You pick one, and then just a dude starts talking, and then your party starts talking, and you don't get any. You never really hear your character say anything. And to me, there's just sort of like a weird disconnect where you're almost watching a cutscene at that point. Like you're almost triggering a cutscene with every. I guess
how's that different than any?
It's not really different than any other adventure game or whatever. But I don't know. I don't know.
I see where you're coming from, but I sort of suspect that when you're the one, like, we saw this someone else playing it. I suspect that when you're the one reading those dialogue choices and choosing which one you want to say and put in, that probably will be less jarring than if you're just watching.
I think it was just a combination of factors where I didn't really like the dialogue. I didn't really like
enough for sure. Yeah.
I didn't really. The fact that some dude's disagreeing with my long, lengthy diatribe on why we shouldn't defend this town from the evil wardens or whatever. I was so disinterested in general that the systems impacting that didn't interest me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's missing that, important step.
That's cool.
No, I understand where you're coming from because I'm also not interested in the game story at all. So,
which is weird because it seems like they're making a huge effort. Like they've hired all these writers and they've got all this huge backstory. They had some guy do a book.
Well, that's that's their in-house guy who's been there for 10 years. I don't think they necessarily hired a bunch of new dudes to do it. They just
really. I thought they had a.
Well, the guy who wrote the book, David Gator, who's the lead writer on this game, also wrote on Diablo 2. I'm sorry, Diablo 2. Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate 2. He was at the time he was a pretty new employee, I think, but that was his first game at BioWare.
Okay,
and
now he's a withered up old husk.
Jesus
Christ!
I don't know. I cannot confirm or deny what I just said.
The status of his husk.
You guys ready for a little reader mail? Maybe.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh my god!
So I guess that's our Dragon Age.
Yeah, it's like a husk.
Dragon Age. It's
husk
like a
of Baldur's
husk.
Gate.
Oh man! For some reason, that reminded me of Chevy like a rock, which then reminded me of this billboard that I saw.
Yes. Okay.
I'm not gonna be able to remember it. Oh, this is terrible.
It reminded me of this billboard that I can't remember. It obviously didn't remind you of it.
It was originally a Bud Light ad, and it was like the ad said like the new look of cool or of smooth or something like that. But then, like, the sign guy was halfway through putting up a Crown Royal, like, hard liquor ad over the top of it. So, like, 5/6 of the Budweiser bottle was just replaced with this really posh picture of some really nice, like, liquor in an amazing bottle.
So that was, like, their weird way of implying the quality of their...
It was clearly an accident, because, I mean, I think... Or we can delete
story,
this part. We'll delete this. I'm sorry. I couldn't remember what I was saying.
Anyway, moving on to reader mail.
Just delete that part, please.
Okay. Max Epstein writes, I would open this email by telling you I'm a long-time listener, but I'm not.
Jeez.
Okay. I was wondering how you decide what questions get on your show. Are you reading all the questions you get? Some of them seem pretty retarded.
This is becoming meta very fast.
Yeah. Your delivery suggests you've never read any of them before. If you are filtering these questions, if you're filtering them, are these questions really the cream of the crop? The answer is clearly no. So I'll just keep reading. Second question. I was thinking about your podcast name. I mean, I assume idle thumbs is a play on idle hands. The idiom idle hands do the devil's work is, of course, in direct reference to furiously masturbating out of boredom.
I don't think that's where they... I don't think that like an old arm from like 200 years ago would say that.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's because you're furiously masturbating out of boredom. Is he about to imply that we are sort of metaphorically furiously
Ben Franklin
masturbating?
was such a...
He actually goes further. He goes further than that. My question is as follows. Is your podcast name a reference to stimulating you or your friend's prostate with your thumb? Sure. What?
It's about playing video games when you're not doing other things.
Making internet
what
enemies.
You do when you're not playing video games, rather.
Max Epstein. P.S. Don't tell anyone my real name. I don't want nerds trying to hurt me. Oh, well, sorry about that. All right.
Sorry.
It's because we don't read them ahead of time.
Yeah. Idle thumbs. You know.
I don't know. We just thought it was funny.
When your thumbs are idle.
Actually, a funny story about the name of our thing. We were going to actually originally call it One Up. Like that was something we were considering. And then like a week later, oneup.com registered that.
Wow.
Like Ziff Davis registered, like, because I mean,
OneUp.com was amazingly available, apparently.
Well, because that site, it was like 2003 when they started, and we were also considering that name. Anyway, that was a funny thing that occurred.
Also considered and rejected, fortunately. Game Bitch, Games Lol was also considered, and Merrick Bronspring stole that for his blog. Videogames.com, computerandvideogames.com was taken.
Yeah. All right. So Roderick Rhodey from the forums writes, Dear fellow Thumbateers, I'm now listening to the fourth Confrincated, and okay, so I'm just going to paraphrase this. Nick, he's responding to your description of Jeff Kaplan's World of Warcraft talk. Roderick writes, I get the feeling the games industry at this point is undergoing a massive struggle to find out what it wants to be, an identity crisis, if you will. Nowhere is this more apparent than in the whole how to tell the story, or even should we tell a story discussion. He doesn't agree with Kaplan that World of Warcraft's heavy reliance on classic storytelling is a flaw. He basically goes on and says he spent hours in Morrowind reading dozens of books and short stories. Although he'd like more diversity in games, he also sees Kaplan at the forefront of the in vogue attitude of rejecting literary storytelling, and he thinks that if that is the case, the pendulum will swing too much in that way. I don't agree with this.
I mean, yeah, I can't identify with reading every book in Morrowind, but
hold on,
I mean, no offense. I think part of the well, go ahead.
I'm just going to say I'm going to cap off his email. He says, "Do you think there's too much of a book burning mentality going on among the industry elite?" So, now continue, Nick.
Ooh, controversial. I don't. Here's the thing. I mean, especially in regard to a game like World of Warcraft, they have to pump out so much content that inevitably the stories that you're reading are just not worth reading. You know, I mean, I don't know. It's the weird kind of thing where if you have that
Mama
much,
Dwarfenstein needs to bake 18 pies.
Yeah. What I mean, like, how could you possibly feel that merits, anything? I mean, it's throwaway filler. I mean, come on, it's total filler. I mean, when it comes to something like Morrowind, it would be great if I don't know. I mean, I guess some people, go through all that stuff and get something out of it. I don't feel like that's something. I mean, it would be wonderful if there were games that were that had that much depth where every item you picked up was something that was, like a real world item, and it was worth, oh wow, there's a book in this game and it's written just for me. I don't know.
Dear Nick,
pick up an actual book.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I mean, if they're actually,
I mean, it's not,
if World of Warcraft or Morrowind or whatever actually had writing on the level of something I could read in a real fucking book that was actually a good book, sure, that's fine. I don't think anyone's really doing that in games, at least not the ones I've been playing, and I just don't enjoy. Like, I did play World of Warcraft for
it's
2
just
months.
Not financially.
No, it doesn't
possible.
make any sense. And
it's not possible.
And anyone who's capable of writing that is probably just going to write an actual book.
Yeah.
If you're capable of actually writing a good book, just do that.
Yeah, I mean, just wanting writing for the sake of, like, sort of being able to note that there is a lot of writing in your game, that means that you should cut it.
Yeah.
No, it's true. I sometimes sort of, for some reason, get myself into a personal, like, stupid loop where I just end up reading all that shit just to read it, just so I can feel like, oh, I got everything out of this game. But then I always end up having a worse time as a result.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's never enjoyable reading. Like, I like reading. I'm reading Gulliver's Travels of all things right now. It's fucking long, and I'm enjoying it. It's really just like a good read. I have nothing against
but
reading
imagine
books.
that.
But like, yeah,
split up into 500 different things
right,
you can find in somebody's closet.
Right. Or like in the barrel
page
for some reason.
365.
It's like on a terminal in an abandoned space station.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
3 pages of Gulliver's Travels.
It's not, it's just not.
Huh?
The only time I ever enjoy anything like that is when it...
The only time I ever enjoy anything...
Well, it's when it's something like in Fallout 3 where it's just a throwaway kind of thing, like a newspaper article or something that...
Yeah, stumbling across a thing that's way more awesome than you expected it to be.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
Great.
Yeah, but it's always something that sort of ties into just something that's already sort of established in the game world. Or, it's never just ancillary material like Lord Bumblecrumb's, like...
I'm sorry,
wizardry of, like volume 3 of
Wizard
the defense...
Esquire.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I agree. That's kind of actually a lot of, going back to Dragon Age, that's like, it sounds like the characters in that game might actually be reading from the books in Morrowind.
I think really a part of the problem is a lot of that material often relates to the specific quest you're on, or it doesn't relate to a quest at all.
Like in World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Right.
If that was somehow related to the central story, which I feel like Fallout, in some ways that material is, it's sort of telling the backstory. Or like audio logs and something like BioShock, at least it ties into some central, story.
At least it's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing that I'll put out as an example. Fear 2 had a lot of shit you could pick up and read, and most of it was terrible. But there were I would say probably like
right. I remember you talking about this,
a few that I could count probably on one hand that were really, really great things. I'm really glad someone took the time to write out and hide in that game so I could find them and be blown away by this thing that IGN.com that was sort of just deposited that I could have missed, but I found it and read it, and it really like illuminated the game for me.
Yeah.
But 95% of the shit was just stupid and boring. And
95 out of the 100 written collectibles?
Probably at least, yeah.
It requires a game that actually has a storyline, like a central storyline that is interesting before you can possibly have content that...
I don't know if that's true.
That's not true, though, because Fear 2, I think the story was mainly dumb, but there were a couple moments where
also,
I'm like, man.
Half-Life 2 does not have a story that's interesting. Right. It has a world that's interesting with interesting things that happen.
Well, that's what I mean. That's sort of what I mean.
But
it has to have something that...
Yeah, okay. Sorry.
It has to be a decent game.
I understand what you're saying. I'm just being a dumbass to waste time.
No.
You want to read the next one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, I think
I think we sort of
came to
pooped around that long enough that you might think we answered it accidentally.
All right. Etienne Barishnikov G writes... hey casters, great show, blah blah blah. Last week you talked about Army of Two. Ever since they started talking about Army of Two, I skipped over the news items. The first one is too bland for me, etc., etc. But then he says, when you mentioned Alex Hutchinson was the lead designer for the game, I was intrigued. I attended an IGDA meeting last November, that's the International Game Developers Association, where he had a post-mortem about Spore. While I didn't appreciate Spore that much, he did make interesting points about it, and I was glad I got to hear his take on it. I think he's a great guy. What interested me, though, is in particular that you mentioned the two characters of Army of Two weren't necessarily the main characters in the central conflict of that game, in the sense that stuff happened all around them and they reacted to it. I think that's great. Too many games suffer from the be-all, end-all syndrome of the main character. I think there's a possibility for greatness in that concept. We don't see it enough. There's a bit of it in, drumroll, Far Cry 2. What other games did you play where the player seemed to play a secondary character reacting to the world's events? Keep up with good podcasting, Etienne Barishnikov G. P.S. You guys don't talk much about the Atari Lynx, which is what made me tune in the first place. It's true. We do promise that on our iTunes page.
Oh, shit. Sorry. For more on the links, go to the archive section of the homepage down at the very bottom. I think look up features and go to the Classic Game Expo article.
That's true.
You'll find some amazing photojournalism, a photojournalism piece by Chris and I and our friend Doug about the Atari Lynx and some other classic games.
That was actually one of my favorite stories from the old Idle Thumbs, the pre-podcast Idle Thumbs. I really enjoy it. One weird thing we used to do in Idle Thumbs, accidentally in almost every case, was weird photo essays Like we'd cover events just by taking a bunch of pictures and just putting them on our website.
Yeah, but that
and
one we just created a weird fictional narrative
right.
where you fell asleep and like used the classic Yara's Revenge costume for warmth in the night.
Right. Yeah.
Weird.
And blew up the
you blew up the expo using computer space.
Yeah.
We're dorks.
Yeah. Anyway, that article might be worth reading, unlike some of them. Anyway, yeah, no, I like that thing too. It's funny actually. Kojima sort of attempted to do that in Metal Gear Solid 2. Like the intent of that game is that, and he said this flat out, is it's supposed to be that Solid Snake is the main character in that game, and your protagonist Raiden is like a secondary character. The idea was supposed to be you perceive the story of Snake through the eyes of a secondary character, and I love that idea, but I didn't think the game did as good a job of actually making me feel like that. Like it felt like I was still the main character, basically, because Snake only popped in from time to time.
You were just playing a crappy secondary character.
I didn't care that he was crappy. That didn't really bother me. But I did wish there was more of like that weird parallel thing where you felt like you were sort of illuminating another character's main plot. I think that would have been cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you guys think of any other examples?
I like that a lot about Half-Life 1, and then it
went
away in Half-Life 2 pretty hardcore when you come back as Jesus.
Right.
But in the first one, like that was actually one of, I mean, like a lot of people, I'm sure, the beginning of Half-Life 1 was one of those moments where my brain just crapped itself, where it's like, I'm probably really important. Everyone's greeting me as I go past this reception desk. Wait a minute, I'm pushing a cart into a machine.
Waiting for you, Gordon.
Yeah, but that was great.
Chamber.
It was so cool to experience that event as the schmo stuck in the machine, but like it doesn't turn you into a superhero or anything. Your life just gets fucked over.
Right.
I thought that was great.
Half-Life 1 was crazy to me in that it really, I mean, a lot of games are like this, but much more so than most. Half-Life to me really successfully conveyed, you are fucked, get the fuck out of here. Like that whole game, I felt like I was just always one step ahead of just completely being totally screwed. It was really, really amazingly well executed in that respect. Yeah. And I certainly didn't feel like I was ever on top of the situation. Which, as you mentioned, changed a bit in Half-Life 2.
Yeah. When everyone turns and bows in reverence at you and stuff.
Right, exactly. But, man, yeah.
That was a good game.
Yeah, I mean, I wish there were more examples I could think of. There probably are. People will probably write in and say, we're not thinking of them, but yeah. I agree. That's a cool thing, and I'd like to see more of it.
This is just, I guess I'll just say some of my favorite LucasArts games.
Oh, sure.
Which are Grim Fandango, Full Throttle, Monkey Island 1 and 2. I mean, as those games go on, you get more and more involved, but they always spend it, like the good parts of those games are the parts when you're just a dude and you fall into crazy stuff that you just have. No one asks you to do any of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you're just a character who's existing in this world.
The opening of Grim Fandango is great in that respect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like some people have complained about it being slow, but I really like.
I like that when you're just doing your job.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But like subverting it in like a hilarious way. Yeah.
It's good stuff. I mean, eventually in all those games, you do end up achieving amazing things or like becoming renowned, but the beginnings of them are enjoyable in that way. It's nice that they don't just start you off as like the boot stomps in. It's like Ben, ultimate like dude, you know, the go-to guy for solving mysteries.
Well, that does happen in the opening to Full Throttle. Like you fucking plow down on Corley's limo, but then
but when that's because you're a biker. It's they're not like Malcolm Corley's been murdered. Who do we call?
Well, no, I
understand.
I understand that, but I'm just saying your character is definitely introduced as the biggest badass on the block. But then when the actual game starts, you've been beat up and left for dead in a dumpster. I mean, it's cool because on the micro level in Full Throttle, you can always kick someone's ass or be a badass. But on the macro level, you don't have very much agency in this sort of crazy plot that's going on. What's actually really interesting about Full Throttle is that the player pretty much knows what's going on the entire time, but Ben, your character, doesn't. Which is really a really interesting. I mean, that fits into this more so than sort of the strength of the character, because as a character, he's very strong, and everybody recognizes that. Mm-hmm. But you, the player, actually have an understanding of the grand events because you see them in cutscenes. Right. Ben doesn't.
You saw Corley get murdered.
Exactly. Yeah. But Ben did not see that happen. It's really interesting. Like it's very few games actually do that. It's a cool way of. I mean, most games don't pick a stand. Like Half-Life picks a stand and says, you only ever know what your character knows ever. You never leave that. Full Throttle toys with that idea. Most games just kind of fall into like a fuzzy middle where sometimes the perspective switches away for no reason. And so like I like when a game really takes a stand on its perspective. And I wish more games would do that. And I guess that ties into that question.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Nick?
I'm just sitting here thinking of games.
Sweet.
But you're not talking about them.
No, I'm actually the one I'm trying to think of right now is StarCraft and whether that might qualify. I mean, you start out as just a dude who's kind of, like a local magistrate.
That's like every strategy game, though.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, I know. I'm trying. My memory is.
You start out as just a dude who, sort of.
But I don't think
omnipresent force who can control a full
throughout
army on
that
a
game
board.
though. Throughout that game, I don't think that you ever are playing from the perspective of like the commander. You know what I mean? I think.
Yeah, but you're still moving
That's
around.
fair
troops
enough, but I never gave a shit. I mean, I didn't care about any of that stuff when I was playing that game.
Yeah,
I love that game. It's a great.
Well, I didn't know we were only
Here's
talking about games with amazing LucasArts stories. Oh, the classic adventures.
Here's what you could do with StarCraft. It's a pretty good game.
No, I mean, I love StarCraft. I'm just saying I never really got invested into my character or sort of was interested in that stuff. But
well, it was a large part of. I mean, those briefings were pretty extensive.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember what happened in that. I mean, I guess some people do. Some people probably go into that. I mean,
I bet in Mercenaries, you're just a mercenary.
Shit.
Thanks, Jake.
I don't know. Maybe we should have read this question ahead of time.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We can talk about it. So anyway, moving on.
The Lost Vikings.
Because you're lost?
Yeah, I don't know. They don't know what's up.
Blackthorn?
Lemmings.
Hi, Thumbs. Not so much a question, but damn you and your blasted pods for ruining the word wizard for me. I'm currently spending a considerable chunk of time in my job creating charts on the work's internet. Unfortunately, 90% of the options for these charts are behind a button that says wizard lists. And every single time I click the button, your wizard soundbite explodes in my brain. Thanks a lot, guys.
No problem.
I just had the image of, for some reason, his computer at work actually, like,
wizard!
Yeah. Like when he presses that. Keep blasting those pods on our receptive faces. Logan Whitmore. Thanks. What?
Nothing.
His name was gross to you?
No, the part before that. Anyway, go ahead. Move on. Quickly.
All right, Brian writes... Oh, this is too long. I'm sorry. We'll try to get you next week. Oh, man.
I'm sorry, this is far too long.
No, it's just, it'll be a long discussion, I can tell. It's a good email. We'll try to get you next week.
Probably actually out of time.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dogby writes, this is short. Many people in the games industry are really bad at games. My least favorite thing is when someone says they got beat by a developer because they made the game, so they must be good. But actually, developers are mostly all bad.
Journalists are worse.
Are any of you actually good at games? Do you have a game where you can get online and have a good session of wrecking the shit out of strangers?
I'm fucking awesome at games.
Thanks for reading this on the podcast, Dogby. I thought that was a funny question.
I'm a game developer, and I'm pretty shit at games, but I like them a lot. That said, there are people at my office, and like Steve Hot Scoops Gaynor will probably school you in many things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm decent at some games, but I'm not any kind of fucking crazy game master.
I'm a game master.
Are you, Nick?
Yeah.
I watched our
GM.
concept artist at WonderCon, the San Francisco Comic Convention, basically wreck an entire line of dudes at Street Fighter 4. So there are some game developers who can play a game.
Hey, Steve's pretty good at Street Fighter 4 also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those guys should probably spar.
Yeah.
So I think it's called sparring in Street Fighter. I don't know. Street Spar.
Street Sparer 4.
Yeah.
Sparer. Sparer. Sparer.
That's what they say at the beginning of a round. Sparer.
Sparer.
Sparer. What? Excuse me? Fight.
I'm sorry, I meant fight.
It's in parentheses, yeah.
Anyway, that you should spar.
Yeah. You can go to Sbarro after sparring.
I didn't say it. I was thinking it.
Well, I said it. All right. Is this the end of our podcast?
Yeah. But you guys are both really good at games, right?
Nope.
I'm pretty good.
I was actually surprised that I wasn't terrible at Quake Live when I loaded that up. I got like number 2 on a thing. I think I mentioned that before.
That's
it was
cool.
So surprising to me.
I got my ass handed to me pretty hard, but it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It was cool. Yeah, cool. Well.
Yeah, so games.
Sweet.
What? I was thinking,
Video game.
Powering down. Oh, shit.
Oh, snap.
Sampling is monster.
Oh!
Yeah. You didn't listen to those, did you?
No.
we talked about more like video game theoretical discussion and also more like cocks than any.
Both extremes of
Right,
our
yeah,
podcast
I
were very much increased.
Yeah, the middle
Sort
ground.
of middle ground, like I've been playing this game and this is what I think about.
Actually,
that
that was
didn't really
out the
exist so
but
much.
Yes, it did. We
Really?
recorded an entire episode and then got in a fight and like started yelling at each other about how fucking boring the episode was, and then we didn't release any of it. So even that aspect was amplified times a million. Yeah, we recorded an episode that was so bad that we were so like sort of of mixed mind about it that people started yelling at each other.
Oh,
It was terrible though. I mean, it was not a good podcast. you missed some
call it
great stuff, Nick.
apparently.
Yeah, I thought you just said it was not a good Cod Cast.
It wasn't a good podcast. We weren't up to our usual fish discussion. Or Call of Duty, I guess.
This is the Call of Duty Cod Cast.
Where developers of Call of Duty talk about fish.
It's a codwa.
What'd you say?
I don't know.
Nick doesn't know.
Oh man.
I was extrapolating the cod.
Yeah, there was that one press
Cod
event that
moi.
was Tony Hawk's American Wasteland and Call of Duty.
All right.
The Thawed Cod
Thawed
press event.
Cod,
Yeah. I almost wrote about that.
Yeah, I know.
And then
You were
got
going to,
annoyed
and then-
and told me like how many
Wait, what?
dollars I wasted at that by attending that Activision.
Because you didn't
event.
write about it?
Yeah, I didn't write about it, but like they gave me a skateboard deck and like gave me food and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I didn't cover the game.
God, I had that skateboard deck in my closet for fucking ever because I didn't know what to do with it.
And what did you do with it?
I don't even remember. It's not in my closet anymore, I don't think so.
You ate it.
I must have done something with it, yeah.
Yeah, I still have it. I trip over it sometimes.
Wow, that was like 4 years ago.
I know. What am I going to do with it?
Video game.
Shadow and Colossus go west. Shadow and Colossus go Hawaiian, or like Shadow and Colossus like Big Trouble in the Big Apple.